Everybody, this is Lisa with Friends of Texas Wildlife, along with our beautiful great horned owl. This is the largest of the owls we have in our area. The females are usually larger than the males. They can be anywhere from 18 to about 24 inches tall and weigh anywhere from 2 to 5.5 pounds. They have a very long lifespan. In the wild, they generally live to be 20 to 30 years old, which is quite old. In captivity, they can live even longer. I believe the longest one in captivity lived to be about 50 years old. They have a very deep hoot. When people talk about hoot owls, they're generally talking about the great horned owls. They're the ones that do the real whoo, 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 whoo. And the males and females will call back and forth to each other. Usually the male, even though he is smaller in size, will have the deeper throated hoot than the female. So you can usually hear them calling back and forth. They are monogamous. They do pair bond. Typically they would be having courtship anywhere from about Halloween, the end of October into November. They're going to start nesting typically by December, January. They will build, they don't usually build their own nest. They will nest in a tree cavity, or they will take over a nest that another animal or bird has constructed. They'll take over a hawk's nest or a squirrel nest, and they might add to it or make some alterations, but they typically don't build their own nest. They will sometimes use a man-made platform or even a ledge in a building or something, so they're not too picky about where they'll nest. Eggs would usually, in our area of Texas, probably be laid in December, January, from 1 to 4 eggs. As with a lot of raptors, they will lay the eggs, or the female will lay the eggs a day or two apart. So she might lay an egg, and then 2 days later, she'll lay another egg, and so on, anywhere from 1 to 4 eggs, and they hatch in the same order that the eggs were laid. So you might have babies in the nest that are several days apart in age, which can have a big impact on survival. If prey is not plentiful, usually the bigger ones will survive, and the smaller ones will not necessarily survive. Sometimes they get knocked out by their older siblings even. It really is survival of the fittest. They will incubate the eggs for about 30 to 37 days before they hatch. The babies will begin to kind of explore outside of the nest when they're about 5 weeks old. They'll start, we call them branchers at that point. They'll start hopping around from branch to branch. But they can't really fly very good until they're about 9 to 10 weeks old. And then they stay together as a family unit until the babies are months old. They will still be dependent on their parents to help them hunt and find food. You can see with this one, we think she's a female based on size. She does have a little bit of damage to her left eye, so it looks a little bit unusual, but we still think she's going to be releasable. She's been flying really well in our 100-foot flight cage. She has those distinctive ear tufts, which she is holding down right now, giving me her best angry cat look. That's because she's annoyed. Those ear tufts are not actual ears. They're just feathers. Her ears are on the side of her head. And like with a lot of owls, they are off center. One is higher than the other. That helps her to be able to find food and pinpoint where the prey is that she's hearing. Their prey, they will eat a wide variety of prey. They eat mostly rodents, but they will also eat other raptors, other birds of prey, ducks, coots, reptiles, snakes, frogs, even scorpions. They're one of the few animals that will predate on skunks because they do not have a strong sense of smell. The skunky smell doesn't bother them. And skunks and rabbits and hares are larger prey for them. So if they can't take off with the prey because it's too heavy, again, if they're only weighing 2 to 5 pounds, they really can't take off with something that weighs more than they do, but they will kill and eat it on the ground. So these guys can be a hazard to domestic cats and small dogs. Again, they can't fly off with something bigger than they are, But if they're desperate enough, they will potentially attack an animal on the ground, and they can do some serious damage. We can see her feet there can do some very serious damage. They have a lot of pressure per square inch on their feet. It's meant to crush bone and skull. So they can inflict some serious damage even on the ground. They will sometimes also go after carrion if they really can't find a lot of food. They're one of the more common owls. They're found throughout North America and into Central America. They can be found anywhere from deserts to wetlands to forests, grasslands, cities, suburban areas, anywhere from Arctic areas all the way to subtropic areas. They're pretty widespread as they're pretty adaptable. So these are the biggest owl that we have. You can see her distinctive yellow eyes and those ear tufts. And their coloration will change a little bit regionally, depending on the foliage and the trees that they're roosting in. So that's our great horned owl.